and fourth grade, welcome to reading class for Friday. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be creating a character web for May B. You have this in your packet. I know I filled out some of it, but what I have completed on mine, we're going to work through together, and I am going to help to show you how to put together a character cluster. And a character cluster is basically identifying what are some character traits of May B. Now you understand what character traits are because we actually use that in our research reports that you've done. And so what we're going to do is identify what are some words that we can use to describe the character of May B. Now this past week you've studied external conflicts, internal conflicts. You know, internal is person versus self, something that they're struggling with. External is an outside force you're struggling with, whether it be another person, whether it be nature. And I know many of you from looking at your reading journals were talking about teacher. I know you had mentioned that, how that teacher was forcing her to do something that she could do, but it probably just took her a little bit longer. And as a result, too, of her getting nervous of being around teacher, she wasn't able to do things like she probably could do. Another outside force was the snow, nature. But through all of these different conflicts and all of these things that May B goes through, she shows different character traits, different qualities. And so what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what are some words that we can use to describe May B, and then where in the book does it support how we've described her, this word? Where is there evidence in the book that shows this about May B? Okay, so we're going to take a look. I put together some ideas. Now I'm using the entire book up to 165, so anything that I can find. So these are the words I used to describe her. And you can fill this out on your chart as well. So in the center circle, you're going to write May B, because that is where you write the character's name. On the one towards the bottom, I thought a good word to describe May B would also be hard working, because I think she was very, very hard working. And then we're going to find evidence of that in the book. Another one I want to put down is frustrated. I think we could probably find evidence of maybe being frustrated either in her schooling, either with her parents when they're first deciding to make her go to the Oblingers and she doesn't want to go there. Maybe it's once she realizes that she's there and the Oblingers are not coming back. So we are identifying character traits of May B, but then we also have to find, it's called literary evidence, okay? Literature is books. So evidence is proof. So what we're doing is we're finding proof from the book or literary evidence to support our character traits. So I'm not just saying, oh, she's hardworking. Well, how did May B show that? I don't know. No, I want to be able to show you in the book exactly where that is. And so we're going to do some of those together, okay? Another one besides frustrated and hardworking, I also use the word determined. It seems like she would get frustrated, but then she would pull it together. So these are the words, the character traits that I came up with. If I were you, I'd please write these down. Now, if for some reason you thought, well, I think of some other words to describe maybe not all of these, that's fine, but then make sure that you're able to find evidence to support that in your book, okay? So now you see we have May B as the center. We've identified 3 character traits, but now you look, coming from each character trait are 3 circles. So that means we have to find 3 places in the book that support each trait. Now I'm not going to go through all of them because I want you to be able to do some of that, but I am going to go through some of them. So you can use the book anywhere from the first page up to 165. Okay? Now, if some of you did read ahead, I mean, it's such a good book, I don't blame you. you can go ahead and pick some of that as well. But for our purposes today, I will just go through 165. So for example, I'm going to take a look at frustrated. And when I was looking through the book and getting ready for this lesson, I looked on page 151. And I look back on 150. And this is where maybe is like throwing the bucket of water at the snow. She's realizing there was just a blizzard and she's got to get out of there. So she's trying to dig her way out. She's throwing water, trying to get herself out of the soddy. And then she's realizing in her mind, she's remembering how Mrs. Oblinger said, stupid girl. She's also remembering where the teacher said, the girl's not right. Something don't work proper in her head. So she's remembering all these negative things that people have said about her. And she's also frustrated because now she's stuck in the soddy, and she doesn't know how to get out. So what is evidence of her being frustrated? Look at 151. Sobbing. I sink to the floor. The rough wood scrapes my knees as I crawl back to bed and bury myself under the quilts. So I'm going to write down, I put a P because that stands for page 151. She cries and goes to bed. Now, do you have to have it be a complete sentence? Not necessarily. This one is, so I'm going to make this capital and put a period. So that shows that she's frustrated, okay? So there's evidence. Now, there's also other evidence in the book, proof that shows that she's frustrated at times. But let's go to a different character trait. How about we go to hardworking? So I'm going to turn, I found evidence of that on page 124. So please turn to page 124. And it talks about how she is going back in the barn to get some hay. I think she's trying to find things so that she can start burning things. So she talks about back in the barn, I kneel in the scattered hay, scooping armfuls into my dress and press the hem against my waist. So the blinding white whips at my eyes. I bend my head for some protection. Snow gathers at the soddy door. I shove it open with a shoulder, dump the hay, and turn toward the barn again and again until what hasn't blown away is scattered across the floor. So, I mean, she is like, I have got to get this to survive, to help me. So then for hardworking, I would go 124. She gathers hay. So that's showing a way that she's hardworking. Another part you can show, I'm just giving you an idea, I don't want to give it all away. Another way you can show hardworking is think about how she keeps trying to practice reading. Another way, and that could also be for determined. That's okay. You don't want to repeat them, but some of these might work for more than one, okay? So we're going to take a look for determined. I went to 153. And this is where the teacher is trying to force her, the new teacher, to read something that's very complicated. And the teacher is like, read it. And she's like, I won't. And then and she's saying here, she stood there waiting to pounce at my first mistake, wanting to make a fool of me, ready to show how stupid I was. So she's like, well, I'm not going to do this because you're basically just going to point out what I don't know. So what's the point? Good point. So what we could write down here, but she says, I won't. She's like, I am not doing this. So that shows that she's determined. It's not that she's being disrespectful. It's just that she doesn't want to be humiliated. It's one thing if the teacher wants her to read something so the teacher can help her, but the teacher's goal isn't to help her. The teacher's goal is to humiliate her. And she's like, I'm not doing this. Why should I read this? So we're going to put down here for determine, page 153, she refuses to read. Period. And then I changed that again to a capital. Do you have to have these be complete sentences? No. But if it ends up being that way, make it that way. All right. So I'm gonna do one more with you, just to give you a clue. So we have, how many do you have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I did 1, 2, 3 with you. I'll do one more. I found another one about determined. If you go to 132, and this is where she is practicing her reading, where she's flipping letters and flipping words. Remember, she has dyslexia, so she sees things that are backwards. So in order for her, it seems like her technique in trying to get them straightened out is has to go slower and not have someone watching her to try and watch her fail. It's someone who's supportive of her. It's like, you can do it. So she takes a little longer, but once she slows down and she tries and she's not so worried about making a mistake, she actually can do it. So this is where she's practicing. So that could go under determined. That could also go under hardworking too. So I'm going to put it over here. She practices reading. It's interesting because again, I got to make this capital. That could also go under frustrated, couldn't it? Because she's frustrated as she's practicing because it doesn't come to her as quickly. So there's a lot of these are interchangeable. Now I hope you have these written down. I did 1, 2, 3, 4 for you. So your job is to find 2 more for hardworking, 2 more for frustrated, and 1 more for determined. Complete the web. Again, make sure that you put the page number and then you write 1 sentence or a phrase describing what you found. I hope that you enjoy this activity. Studying may be.